All right, it's another 3 Point podcast. We're coming off Father's Day weekend. Matt and I are both fathers. I mean, just quickly, I'm going to jump into two of my granddaughters were up here. I put together a 10-foot swimming pool. We hung out in that because the weather up here is ungodly hot. So, just a little swimming in the kids' pool and did a little boating and watched some television.
So you say 10-foot pool. Is it one of those, the blue kind of like inflatable pools, or like what, or is it the little plastic kiddie pool?
No, it's the inflate. I'll tell you,
Oh,
I don't know if
no.
you have Aldi's down there, but we have
Hmm?
an.
Yeah.
I like to buy stuff at Aldi's once in a while, and I saw this pool. It comes with a filter, a pump, and it's
Oh,
10 foot
no.
10
No,
foot
no, no, no.
diameter. I think Casey had one last year. He at the end of the season he just ripped it up, but it's actually not a bad setup.
It's funny you say that because yes, there is Aldi, and we go there. We call it the treasure aisle. That aisle that has all the,
Exactly.
you never know what you're going to find in that treasure aisle, and you really might find some really cool stuff actually. And I have seen that pool, and then I've seen some people review it, and maybe this is what Casey was thinking because it's not overly expensive. People said they've used it for the full season,
Yeah.
and then instead of trying to like fold it up or whatever, yeah, you just pitch it and maybe get, maybe you try to fold it up, but they were
It's
like,
an option. It was only
right,
49.95, so
right.
it's not that bad.
It saddens me to hear you say that. I mean, you have this beautiful lakefront property and you just throw that crummy little pool out in your yard. And I can't wait to see it at the end of the season. It's going to be just a nice little brown spot of dead grass for you that you're going to fix next year.
Uh,
It's all about the kids, but good God, man. I mean, come on. You got
Yeah.
that one hell of a setup there. Don't muddy it down with a nice little $49.99 pool in your backyard.
Hey, listen, I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm not killing any grass because I've got my nice hot tub and it's sitting right next to the hot tub, so I can go
Oh,
in from
nice.
one to the other. It's right on the concrete, right on an old rug. It's good, man. And
That's
then we still
perfect.
got the lake to hang on to. So
That's the one thing. Lake Manitou is beautiful. You do have an awesome setup there, and it really is top notch everything. But it's not really the best swimming lake. Is that correct?
well,
Do
you
people
definitely
swim
don't
in
want
it?
to swim in the channel, I'll tell you that much. But out in the lake, it's not bad. It's really
Okay,
not that bad. Yeah.
gotcha. Is it weeds, or like what's with
Yeah,
the
what's the
channel?
problem with the channel? Yeah.
Well, Channel's got a lot of weeds, and then they have a runoff from some farm that's been giving them issues for a long time, and the water's it doesn't really flow really fast to get rid of the sediment, so it's just kind of yucky, you know.
Yeah,
And unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, I'm right at the end of the channel
Yeah.
heading out to the lake, so it's not so bad. But the bad part is I don't really want to jump off my dock and go
no.
swimming there. You got to go out to the lake.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because yeah,
So,
when I've been tooling around with you, doing the tune cast the
mhm,
couple times, as I say, when we've been out there, and I know people tube all the time out there, so
sure.
yeah, that's true. I wasn't thinking of that because obviously you fall off the tube, you do some swimming, but I wasn't sure if people like park their boats in the middle and like dive off and swim if it's that kind of lake.
It is. It is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, and I
Absolutely.
know good fishing too. So I mean, if people are fishing out there, then the water must be decent, right?
Yep, absolutely. Well,
Yeah.
speaking of lakes, Ludington, the Gus Macker just happened, didn't it, up there in Ludington?
Yeah, this past weekend, I mean, we've talked about Gus Macker quite a bit, especially the last few weeks or whatever, when we had Scott McNeil on, and we talked about 3-on-3 basketball quite a
Yep.
bit on the podcast. But yeah, so this past weekend in Ludington, Gus Macker, I've talked about it a bunch. One of my nephews, Jaden, him and his buddies have been playing, and they're just hyped up like crazy about 3-on-3 basketball right now. Backyard Ballers was their
Mm,
team name this year, and I mean, I should have loaded. We've shown pictures on here. I got a bunch of pictures. I mean, they got legit uniforms. The big old, Lanesburg Wolfpack wolf on the front with
nice.
like claw marks down the center, black and red, like the Lanesburg colors. So they got some super cool uniforms, but they ended up third. They took
Nice.
third, and so he got to bring home a trophy. Ted, I know you've got a bunch of trophies from Gus Macker. So he was super pumped to get some hardware and motivation, because I know I mentioned he won Kerwood. His team won Kerwood a couple weeks ago. So to take third at Macker, that's just motivation now.
There's also a difference in him getting third at, this Gus Macker 3-on-3 with 700 teams in it compared to what Ted and my dad did, join the media division of some low-level Gus Macker and collect third at that. So big difference between those two.
Starting off with respect for the old guy already. I see it's going to be one of those
Well, I
nights.
always thought when you guys entered the media division, you guys were like prime athletes, man. You should have been with the big dogs.
Well, don't forget, we did play against. I mean, Rob Pelinka wasn't chump change, man, and there's some of the newspaper groups had some pretty good players. So whatever.
It is interesting. Because when I was playing, I don't remember. I don't even know if we would have looked into. Well, we weren't working in the media, so we wouldn't have qualified. I don't know if there was a media division when we were playing.
Right.
But did you guys? What was the reason? Because of competition? Did you guys get like free admission?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
We did.
I was going to say that had to be a big part.
That was a big part of it, and
because it filled their trophy case. I mean, we don't got to react. It's because that was how they were able to fill the trophy case. I mean, we had like 10 of those damn trophies at one point. So I can't imagine. I mean, how many do you have? Honestly,
there's probably a dozen. A dozen. Yeah.
I was gonna say we posted the picture and you sent it to us. It was There were quite a few trophies out there. At first I was like, geez, man, were they like running the Gus Macker back in the day? Because there's some good teams that play in this tournament.
I also did remember the name of the team my brother had that it cracked me up. It wasn't quite as creative as I remembered. It was just DA Ballers.
Ballers.
I don't know why I remembered it being a lot cooler than that, but
it's not bad.
That was quite the name at the time.
Well, because that was cool back then to say "dud." What was the S on Ballers? Was it a Z?
That's I bet
it was.
Probably was. Yes.
Dub Ballers with a Z. No, it is cool, and I was texting my family and stuff, keeping updates on the weekend, and so I asked my parents, did it seem like back? I mean, 733 teams, of course, but
unreal.
Did it feel like back when the 90s or when I was playing in the early 2000s when it was kind of peak Gus Macker? And they said, oh yeah, the beach down there was packed. Obviously the restaurants and the shops in the downtown was full, and so I mean it seems like this is the 50th anniversary of Gus Macker. So I don't know if they're maybe doing a little more advertisement and pushing it, but I don't know, Jared. You said that 3-on-3 kind of your generation wasn't all that into it. It seems like, just going off my my nephew and his buddies and other people, it seems like 3-on-3. I mean, Kerwood is back. Maybe it's having a little bit of a resurgence.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. I hope it does. I mean, it's a good thing. My generation played enough video games. I know, for God's sake, today's kids are playing enough video games. It's like anything gets them out, gets them competing, good fun. I'm for it. It was DeBallas, all one word with a Z on the end. So yeah, and it was pretty awesome.
That's classic.
All right. Well, I just want to remind everybody, this is episode 317 of the 3 Point Podcast, presented by the Memorial Healthcare Wellness Center, voted Shiawassee County's best health club gym, and check out memorialhealthcare.org for details on everything they offer. Tell them 3 Point Podcast sent you. I also want to thank our other starting lineup of partners. They include the ALS Association of Michigan, AZee Branding Solutions, Jacobs Insurance Agency, Kori and Associates Real Estate Services, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, and Success Group Mortgage and Servicing. We got a lot to get into. The NBA Finals is over. U.S. Open Golf had some interesting side notes, and we'll have Tedertainment Tonight, and we'll get it all rolling right after this. Well, guys, let's start in the U.S. Open. I mean, Bryson DeChambeau, what a shot there on 18 to set up the victory. I mean, that's how you finish, a major, and that's how you keep viewers tuned in the whole way. It was great.
Not just what a shot, 2 shots. Because I mean, I'm assuming you're talking about the bunker shot,
absolutely,
as the shot, but the shot that led to that one, I don't even know where he was. I mean, I was watching, but I'd like stepped away or something, so I didn't see his drive. And then when I get back over to it, he's like off in like the woods, but there's like TV cables like right in front of him. He's basically butted up right to a root. And I mean, it looks like it took him a half hour just to hit the ball, because he's sitting there just like he's probably thinking over and over, like, what am I going to do with this? Of course, he hits a good shot, then he hits the amazing bunker shot. But no, I mean, we were texting a little bit during it. It was exactly how you want a major like that to play out. We've talked about Rory before. He kind of battles back. There's some other good names up there, towards the top of the leaderboard, and then obviously DeChambeau. A lot of people feel one way or the other on him because of the live golf thing and other stuff that he's done. But
right.
Oh man, it was just a fun tournament to watch.
Well, it was down in your neck of the woods in Pinehurst. I know last week we
Mhm.
were talking about it and thought maybe there was going to be record low scores, but the course played real competitive, didn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, you saw the greens. It's they dried it up as much as we could, and and we're going to talk about Rory. I mean, that putt Rory had, it was a 4-footer, but I mean, it had like a foot of break. If
Oh,
I'm
it
up there
did.
lining up that putt, just as a crappy, I don't even know what my handicap is, golfer, it's like I maybe make that half the time. Let
Right.
alone the pressure, the stakes, everything that. I mean, you hit that putt by a little millimeter, you're going to miss it. So.
Right.
That it was a shame to kind of see it end, that way. But
Right.
the back and forth those two had down the stretch, I mean, you're not kidding. I was driving and I was just listening to it on my phone until I got home with the last like 3 holes to play, or
Right.
like 1 or 2 holes to play. Actually, when Rory missed that putt, I like gasped as I was driving. My girlfriend was riding with me. She thought we were like getting in a crash. She didn't know what was going on. I was like, oh, I couldn't believe he missed that. But Bryson, the way he battled the whole 18, you would love to have seen it go to a playoff, but how he won it was such a magical shot. It was like you just had to tip your cap and say, that was a hell of a tournament, a hell of a Sunday. I mean, that whole back nine, it kept you couldn't stop. You take your eyes off. I mean, Rory's up by 2. Then they ended up getting tied. Then Rory bogeys. I mean, bogeyed what, 3 of his last 4 holes or something like that.
Right.
Just a big time fall apart. But Bryson, I mean, he's become the people's champion. They're chanting USA as soon as Rory bogeyed that hole on 18. People are loving that guy, and he's said it a million times, but it really is his YouTube channel and how you're able to see a lot of the behind the scenes stuff. I mean, if you're a pro golfer right now, really an athlete in general, and you don't have a YouTube channel or TikTok or something like that you can monetize, you're an idiot. That has done wonders for his image, and it seems like it's helped his golf game a lot. He's so much calmer on the course. I mean, he's going back and forth with the peanut gallery when he wants them, when they want him to pull a driver, and he ends up laying up. It's just he's the number one story in golf right now. The way he's done this 180, good for him.
Well, he definitely is.
Yeah, no, he is, and I think it's almost like it should be like a lesson in a sense to, like, we talk about the MLB trying to market their superstars to get people into the sport some more. And your point is spot on with, it's not the old days where like Tiger is going to just burst onto the scene and everyone's going to love Tiger and drive everyone to the golf course. Like, it just doesn't really work that way anymore. You got a guy like Scotty Scheffler right now playing the way that he is. And, it doesn't feel like what it did when Tiger was at his peak, even with Scotty Scheffler playing the way that he is. Maybe it's because we're all, social media is what it is now, and it's not the same as it was 20, 25 years ago or whatever. But the behind the scenes stuff is so interesting, whether it's basketball, whether it's football. That's why the JJ Redick and LeBron James podcast is so interesting, because you get some insight onto, what these guys are thinking. That's why I like the mic'd up segments, or, the wired or whatever they call it, sounds of the game during a basketball game. Cause you hear what they're saying on the court, or, the football, when you see the NFL Films drops the segments after a game where guys are mic'd up. That stuff is super interesting. And I hadn't really thought about that till you brought that up with DeChambeau, because I've seen a ton of his clips over the last, year or two. It's kind of blown up. And like, I just saw one yesterday, it was after he won. He played like a whole round with a basic Walmart set of clubs, and was like letting the dude, whoever was shooting the video, basically tell him, act as the caddy. And he had just $100 set of Walmart clubs, and he's just drilling shots left and right, and it's like, that stuff's fun. So no, I mean, it should be. Yeah, you want to be buttoned up. It's a gentleman's game, golf or whatever. Tiger is so professional and whatever, but have some fun with it too. I think that's what today's generation, or people, like to see.
Well, it was a fun event, and I think I might have screwed us up a little bit in our order of topics, but this is a good topic, the U.S. Open and how it finished. And there was definitely some controversy at the end, we'll say, after it all finished up. And we'll start this discussion first with this clip from the Dan Patrick Show to set up our discussion.
Rory McIlroy is one of my favorite interviews, because I do think whenever you ask him a question, he thinks and gives you an answer. It's not a kind of pre-written answer. He actually gives thought to your questions and his answers. He's always accessible. He should have been accessible yesterday. Yes, it is tough, but you're the face of the PGA Tour. You needed to meet with the media, and he's gone. Stay and congratulate Bryson DeChambeau. Stay. But you're done. You sign your scorecard after you realize you're not going to win. You're in your courtesy car that he was driving to go to his private jet to fly back home. Now, I know he's been going through an awful lot. He and his wife reportedly are getting back together, some reconciliation. I think he's taken on far more than he thought he was going to or should have when it became the face of the PGA Tour. He was the name. He was the one who was being interviewed. He was the one asked about Live Tour. You need to meet with the media. And he failed with that responsibility. You owe it to the fans. You owe it to the TV partners. You need to be there in front of the media. You can say, look, I'm crushed. I don't have anything really to add. I have to go home and figure this out. I put a lot of pressure on myself. I had my chances. That putt was tricky. Whatever it is, but you have to feed the media there. As tough as it is. And I've said this before, when Bill Buckner had the ball go through his legs, Game 6, when the Red Sox and the Mets at Shea Stadium, they're going to win the World Series. And Bill Buckner was there at his locker and answered everybody's questions. When Mitch Williams gave up the home run in Skydome to Joe Carter, Mitch Williams was there at his locker answering those questions. It's tough. But you have to do it. And Rory disappointed me. Not that that matters to him, but as a fan of his, a fan of golf, and a fan of that moment there, talk to the media. It's what you're supposed to do. And granted, it's not pretty. And it feels horrible. And the questions are going to be, can you ever win another one? I mean, it's 14 years or 10 years here. The same questions are coming there, but you owe it to the sport because it was almost heroic that you were down, I think, 3 starting the day, and you battled back and you played great, and then you didn't play great. Got to meet with the media.
When I first saw that, I totally agreed with Dan Patrick. Part of it might be because we're both fellow boomers. After listening to it again, I still agree with that stance. I'm a little bit softer on the fact about the media. I think he should have met with the media. I mean, Tiger Woods always did when he had a bad round. Maybe said only a couple things, but let's face it, the media is part of professional sports. I mean, he took home a second place check of $2.3 million. That's not bad. That's not a bad career. And I understand it was a devastating loss, especially with everything that McIlroy has gone through. I mean, he is this generation's Greg Norman, without a doubt. He's having that tough luck. More importantly to me, though, and I know all about the live battle, and McIlroy's the face of the PGA, and there's so much bad blood there. But the class thing to do is the way I look at it. You got to be a good loser, too. You got to go shake that guy's hand, maybe answer one question from the media, then get in your car and leave. I think he was dead wrong on that.
Let me jump in because I know Jared's fired up. I'll let Jared have the floor after I give my couple little 2 cents. I'm kind of both with a lot of these things. You guys know where I'm going to go. I can see it both ways.
Mm-hmm.
I have the only issue that I have with him not doing it is, I guess the sportsmanship thing. I do still think there's value. I think it's cool after hockey games that they shake hands. I think it's cool after, some youth events or high school, they shake hands and do that stuff, because I do think sportsmanship is a big part of sports. I mean, that's one of the big lessons that you get from playing sports your whole life is winning with class, but also losing with class and, dignity and all that stuff, all that. So, maybe that. Nowadays, he can easily text Bryson on his way out and say, hey, man, congrats. I'll give you a call later, even if we want to chat more. I'll see you next weekend or whenever the next tournament is. Awesome win. I'll catch up with you in a bit. I've got some other stuff going on. So that part, I don't, nowadays, whatever. The media thing, though, even though I'm a part of the media, we're all parts of the media. I don't understand how some people grandstand on, you have to meet with the media. You have to do it. You have to give the media. Because what if he did go there and just give 2-line? Yeah, it was a tough loss. Yep, got to win. Tough loss. What does that really do for the newspapers, for the articles, for the social media content or whatever. So Dan Patrick saying, just say whatever you got to say and then go on. Well, that doesn't really provide much context. And because, people always give Jim Harbaugh a hard time after Michigan games when he would give his weird little 2-word answers and then throw it off to JJ McCarthy, throw it off to Blake Corum. And I'm like, he has no responsibility to give the media what people think that you have to. Do you have to be available? I mean, I guess sure, but there's no contractual thing that says you have to be there to talk to the media. It's like an unwritten agreement that, you should provide something to the media, but you don't have to. It's not like that 2.3 million that you mentioned. It's not like he doesn't get that check because he didn't talk to the media, So I think it's another thing, like, it's easy for Dan Patrick. It's easy for whoever to say you should go do this to the media because you're a part of the media, but you've never been in those shoes going through what Rory is going through, where you're like, I just got to get out of here. I just got to get out of here. I'll talk to the media next weekend at the next tournament. I'll do a social media post. I'll do whatever. But, until you walked, the cliche, until you walked a mile in his shoes, you don't know what it's like. So that's what I kind of think. Like, would you rather have the next question? Question.
I just want to throw one thing in there about the media, though. If the media isn't involved, you're not going to get purses like 2.3 for second place. There is a give and take between the media and the professional athletes. I get what you're saying, and I know, who really wants to hear a one word answer? I get that, but then again, maybe he gives a good answer. Who knows? But
squealing out of it, and this is what cracks me up about it. You could literally point to him leaving and how that was covered as everything that is wrong with media and why he doesn't owe them anything. The tweets and the quote-unquote reports that came out about how he sped out of the tournament, slammed his clubs in his car, slammed the door, sped out of the tournament. Then you see the video come out 5 minutes later. It's like, dude, he just left in his car. The tires squealed, probably on accident, probably because he's got 10 million people around his car as he's leaving. That was a perfect look into the media and why it irritates me so much when stuff like this happens, where you think because you got a highlighter, a notepad, and a lanyard around your neck that you deserve everything. Exactly what Matt said. It's like they're so entitled. You're not entitled to hear from Rory. Listen, and I have no problem with him wheeling out of there and not talking to the media. Have you sat and listened to these media scrums? Dude, the questions that get asked at these goddamn things are the worst things you've ever heard. I remember this was maybe a month ago. AJ Hinch, my guy, he walks in after a tough Tigers loss. They probably lost by like 8 runs or something. And the very first question was about how this loss as a whole. What do you make of this? And he's like, dude, I just lost this game. Can we just talk about the game? I'm here to talk about the game. Can we talk about it? Rory does not need to sit up there for 25, 30 minutes and answer the same goddamn question over and over and over and over again about that putt. It's as simple as I missed the putt. Him leaving that tournament was more of a story than anything he would have said at that stupid podium. As for the whole shaking of Bryson DeChambeau's hand, sure, I guess in theory, he should stay and do that. But okay, there's 100 plus people competing in this damn event. The people that missed the cut on Friday, okay, they need to fly back into town, wait for him to walk off that 18th green, stand in a line, and he needs to walk through and shake everybody's hand.
That's a bit of a reach there, young man.
What does he owe to Bryson, the guy who he just battled with in Live Golf and PGA Tour golf? What does he owe to go shake his hand after that?
Probably he doesn't owe anything. He doesn't owe him anything. The
media madness, Bryson with one of the all-time celebrations after he makes that putt. It's like, who wants to go do that? You lost. He stayed. He waited. He owed the media nothing. I actually love that he said, you know what, F this. I'm going to leave. And with Dan Patrick, one of the favorite things he said, you're the face of the PGA Tour. It's your right to go do that, or whatever the hell he said. Oh, the PGA Tour that basically left this guy out to dry, and basically after he met with the media, did all this media bullshit for a year, they basically turned it on his head and joined Live. He doesn't owe anything to the PGA Tour. Here's where I'm at with athletes going and talking to the media. If you're like Patrick Beverley and you whip a basketball at a fan, no, there should be 30 microphones waiting for you to come sit down in the locker room and talk. If you're just Rory, who just basically had a rough go of it, choked big time, like who wants to? It's like torture. It's like you're asking him to go torture himself to listen to idiots like me with a lanyard around their neck Believe me, it's not Mitch Albom sitting there asking him questions. It's not Mike Lupica, man. It's some intern that's sitting there who just got credentialed probably 3 days ago, firing BS at him.
Well, let's talk facts.
I love
though.
that he left.
Let's talk facts, though. We're not talking about the yo-yos that are in the press conference. I'm talking about the CBS on course interviewer. They would do at least a professional question or two. Don't you agree with that? I think what we might be sitting at is say, let's get rid of interviewing the losers completely. What's good is it, right? Is that where we're at? Because I'm okay probably with that.
What we get from these interviews are, it's like, think about the big hot topic has been Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese. They are baiting Angel Reese to say something bad about Caitlin Clark. It's like they probably interviewed her for probably 20, 25 minutes after that whole smacking of the head foul. And she basically said one line about having a special whistle and they run with it.
Right.
It's not fair. We're media people. We can admit that there is clearly a problem here. And it's appreciated when those athletes are willing to go talk. But the second it becomes an expectation and not a give and take, like you said, that's when it's a problem. He does not have to do that.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I remember when I brought up on Twitter. It was last football season when Harbaugh was in the midst of his post game handing off the interviews to, like I said, McCarthy, Donovan Edwards, Corum, and people were so mad at him, so classless by Jim Harbaugh. You owe this to us. First of all, Jim Harbaugh's answers make no sense ever. So what do we really want from Harbaugh? Second of all, he doesn't owe it to us. If anything, I want to hear what the players have to say more than Jim Harbaugh. And I had some people firing back at me on Twitter saying no, he does. He has a contractual obligation. And I actually talked to some people that work in that department, with ESPN, and they were like, no, they do not owe anything to media. It is a, what's the word? It's nice of them to do it. It's
Gentleman's agreement.
It's a gentleman's agreement. Yeah. It's like, yes, please, we're going to send a reporter out onto the field. If you can be available, we would appreciate it. He doesn't have to, it's not like they lose their wins if he doesn't do this kind of same as like I said with Rory. He still gets that paycheck. The paycheck still clears whether he talks to the media or not. And like Dan Patrick was saying, they're going to ask him questions about, it's been 14 years or whatever since you won a major.
Right.
Are you ever going to win one again? What do you want him to say in the heat of the moment? What do you want him to say? Like, yeah, I got to keep fighting. Got to keep at it, go to the driving range and go to the putting green and try and hit some more putts. That, like Jared said, they're waiting for him to they're trying to bait him into giving a headline answer. Like, man, if it didn't happen this week, I don't think it's ever going to happen again. Boom. That thing's on Twitter. Rory doesn't ever think he's going to win a major again. He's doubting himself. And it's like, oh man, this dude's going through personal issues. He's got, who knows what else he's going through. And he just probably blew the biggest tournament of his life with a 4-foot gimme putt that Jared probably makes at Corona Hills anytime. He doesn't want to answer any questions. Let him go. Just let him go. Next weekend, I think it's the Travelers Championship up in Connecticut. If he plays in that, ask him some questions there if you want. Yeah. But otherwise, he doesn't owe anything to the media. It's a bunch of entitled people like Dan Patrick, and I like Dan Patrick, but it is to say that he owes it to the media. No, he doesn't. Just like I saw the clip of them asking Bryson about Rory. Like, do you feel bad? And it's like, what do you want Bryson to say about that? He did give a really good answer, and he answered it, with class or whatever. But it is like, what do you want him to say about that? Like, yeah, well, I feel bad for Rory. That sucks. Like, I'll say real quick. I know, Ted, you're trying to jump in. I saw a clip of Jaylen Brown, plays for the Celtics, who just won the title, but they lost. They were up 3-0. They lost game 4, and the Mavericks blew them out in game 4. And I saw in the post-game press conference, Jaylen Brown, who ended up winning MVP of the NBA Finals, a reporter asked him, this was after game 4 when the Mavericks beat them, in a game that meant so much, a series clinching game, how did you guys play so poorly? And Jaylen Brown just kind of blankly stared at him and was like, I don't know how to answer that. Next question. And that's kind of like Jared's point. Like, yes, you're right, Ted, that the CBS, NBC, there are very, very, very good professional reporters out there, but you're going to get a bunch of nonsense like that too. And it's like, what do you want me to say, man? I missed the putt,
Well, all I was going to say is when I started this, you know, the thing that bugged me the most was at least not acknowledging Bryson right then, you know, then walk out. If you don't have to do the media thing. But the other thing on the media thing is he could have also spun it a little bit different. You know, he might get asked that question, you know, hey, what about that putt? Yeah, that's a pretty lame question, no doubt. You just say I missed it, like Patrick said. But it would have been cool if it had shown a little bit more class and say, you know what, DeChambeau hit one of the greatest shots out of the sand and he won that tournament. You know, I mean, just throw it the other way. Have a little class on your answer. That's all. And I know that he's got a lot going on and he certainly doesn't owe it to the media, but you know, we can't shortchange the media completely, can we? I mean, it goes hand in hand. You guys wouldn't have jobs if you weren't in the media.
Right. And I'm not doing that. It's just the fact that it's people getting so irate over it of him not talking to the media is my problem with it. You get nothing from these I don't even know what you would call them, pressers, I guess.
Yeah.
They're a waste of time. They are a waste of time. They do it after they talk at these damn pressers every day. This was it a weak moment for him? I bet you if he had it all over again, maybe he doesn't care. Perfect world, yes, he sits there and answers all those questions. I just am defending him and saying, dude, what just happened to him? The fact of what they're going to be asking him at that presser, the fact that he's basically going to be at that course for another 2 hours if he doesn't jet out of there when he did, and it's just a Bryson celebration fest. Like Dan Patrick said, one of the things like, oh, he owes it to the fans. No, what does he owe it to the fans? He missed that putt. They had a little gas. 2 seconds later, they're chanting USA. Those are who he owes it to explain like how the most heartbreaking moment of his life. This is a spectacle for us. This is his life. This is life. He just had the biggest screw up of his lifetime in this sport. And people are like just saying like, if that happens to you, like, dude, go do whatever you want to do. Whatever you do at that point, I get. Perfect world, like I said. Does he go and talk to media? Yes. But if you're somebody who's really getting butthurt about him not talking to the media in that moment, then you just are like you're a glutton for punishment, man. Yeah. Because that's all that would have been. That's like that's a whipping boy at that podium by a bunch of idiots like me asking him just idiotic questions.
Well, just to clarify though, in pro golf, they don't sit there for a long time and answer questions, do they? The losers, don't they just answer the network, you know, broadcaster, and then they scoot out? Isn't that typical in PGA?
I think so. Yeah, I don't think there's a traditional like post-game press conference,
like basketball,
like after an NBA game, right? I don't think there's something like that. Because that would be obnoxious.
It really would.
All right, you know, answer the couple questions with CBS's reporter, or it was on NBC's reporter, and you know, maybe yeah, like Jared said, maybe a week from now, a couple weeks from now, maybe he'd look back and say, you know, maybe I should have stuck around and gave Bryson a quick little fist bump and then got out of there. But at the same time, I don't fault him for.
Well, you know, one thing about this podcast is we have differing opinions, and that's what it's all about. And I respect your guys' opinion. You know, I still have mine, but more importantly, what does McIlroy need to do, man? It was sitting right there. I mean, that was a completely devastating loss. Don't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, he, you know, I think like Patrick even said, he was 3 shots back, you know, to start the day. So it was quite the battle to even get back to the point that he did. And he was playing incredible. And he's been playing all year. He's been playing really, really well. And he just can't put it together at a major. And I mean, I don't know. Like Jared said, yes, that was a 4-foot gimme putt, quote unquote gimme putt, but it was no gimme, especially with the stakes and the pressure. Now he would probably say I should knock that putt down 99 times out of 100. It just happened to be that one time that he missed it. I think I saw, I might have even retweeted it from our account or something. He was like 496 out of 496 on the year on putts inside 4 feet.
Right.
I mean, basically 500 for 500 on the year on putts like that. And he just happened to miss that one. And the other thing is too, so he missed that to go, you know, to drop a shot, but Bryson had to hit. So what's lost in all this? You said it right off the jump from our conversation. Bryson had to hit 2 really, really good shots to not, you know, have the playoff. That's why Rory was hanging around, because it was like, this was no gimme. Bryson had to hit it out of the woods or whatever. Then he had to hit that bunker shot, and then he had to hit his putt to win it. So, you know, it should be, if Rory hadn't quote unquote stormed off the way that he did, it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. It would have been all about Bryson.
Right.
But because Rory, whatever, and that became more of the story. But so I don't know if you guys have more on this. I want to ask Ted.
Yeah.
Maybe it can be one quick answer and we can get back to the golf if we want to. So when Isaiah Thomas and the Bad Boys and the Pistons walked off the court and didn't shake the Bulls and Michael Jordan's hand, how did you feel about it?
I did not like it then. I didn't. And, I heard all the reasons why they did it, and I'm a big Bad Boys fan, and I'm an Isaiah Thomas fan, but that was bullshit. It was.
Even in the moment when you're younger, maybe.
I get it. I know what you're saying, but he had been around the league. He had been to the title. He'd won 2 championships. The mantle's being passed on to Jordan now. That was not classy. And I don't know if Isaiah, I don't know if he was really the initial instigator of that, but he was the face of the Pistons, and I didn't like it.
He hid behind Lambeer. I've said this. I can't stand the Bad Boys. Never have.
No.
That was let's say Rory did that, and let's say they had this long lasting rivalry where Bryson had beat, or where Rory had beat Bryson 5 straight years, and they finally got over the hump. I love that Michael Jordan said, "Nope, you're off the dream team. You're done." I've never liked the Bad Boys. Maybe I would have if I grew up in that time, but everything about them drives me nuts. I don't know why. I just never liked them.
They were a fantastic organization for about 5 years, man. It was must-see basketball without a doubt.
This is also the same guy that said he doesn't understand the hype behind the Fab Five. So
Dude, no, I understood the hype. They've ruined the hype. They've been oversaturated, man. That's the problem with the Fab Five, not the Bad Boys. Bad Boys I just never liked. To bring Rory back into this, Rory, what that showed me was you're talking about how good, how he never missed a putt inside 4 feet. Leading up to those last 5 holes where his putting fell apart, he was rolling in putts all day. I think he had the longest yardage or feet of total putts of anybody in the field that Sunday. He was putting lights out. What that shows me is that he clearly has some yips when it comes to winning a major and getting over that hump. They always put on a brave face and they don't think about it. They don't know what's going on. They don't know the score. He knew it. He knew it was at stake. And as soon as he missed one of those putts and he had a bogey, the train was off the tracks. Thank God they didn't have a playoff. It probably would have been a similar result in the playoff holes, which is a shame that they don't do 18-hole playoffs like they used to do back in the day. Rocco Mediate, Tiger, we remember that great U.S. Open way back in the day. It's a shame they don't do that anymore. But it sucks because I really do think that this is showing a glaring hole in Rory's mental makeup. That what did you say, Matt? It's been 12 years since his last. Is it that long? I think maybe 10 or 9.
Is it longer than 12? I mean,
I thought he won in 2014. I think I want to say it's been 10 years.
You're right. It's been 10,
but somewhere around there. Anyway, regardless, 10 years, 12 years. This is clearly something that has made a mental hole in his head, and I don't know if he'll ever get around it.
Well, I will say one thing.
To tie it off, you're talking about the behind the scenes stuff with Bryson and just how cool the access is that we have now. So I think it was after the Masters, he talked about, I saw a clip where, someone broke this down on Twitter. This is where social media and everything can be really cool. After the Masters, one of the rounds, someone did ask him a question. He stuck around and answered questions from that, the awesome media that we're talking about here. and someone said, they asked him about his putting. And he was like, yeah, I feel like when I lift up, on my putter stroke, when I'm coming through, that's where I get in trouble. When I lift the putter up, that's where I miss. Right now, I'm staying true and I'm hitting, like we just said, it basically never missed a putt this whole year so far. Someone took video of, the video of him putting the putt that he missed. Super, super slow-mo, 240 frames per second, crazy slow-mo. And his putter comes up. Yeah. And, his putter comes up and doesn't hit the ball center and he missed it. And people, you mentioned the yips. I mean, we're all baseball fans and, you hear about the yips in baseball. A second baseman can't make that throw over to first base. Hey, he got the yips. I think that's all it was. He knew what it was. He had to hit that. He had to hit that putt to at least potentially force a playoff. And he just did exactly. He probably had it going on in his head. Don't lift the putter up. Don't lift the putter up. Boom. He did it. Missed it.
Well,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, we're all human. These guys are almost superhuman the way they play the game. But like any sport, especially in golf, man, mental. And this thing has got to be just a mental grind. I've mentioned about Greg Norman. You know about Greg Norman, Jared. You weren't there in that era, though. This is very similar. He was always a big favorite, fan favorite, but always seemed to just come up short. And it seems
he had never won a major, though, right? But Rory has won. It is very similar when you say that. It's kind of Rory probably feels like he's never won one. It's been so damn long.
Yeah.
So it's, man, when he finally breaks through, if it does again, he was up 2 strokes, man, with 4 holes to play.
Right.
How much more can you script it to win a damn major than that? It's
Greg Norman did win 2 Open championships.
Yeah.
Okay. Was that after this long? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I just looked it up
after the long.
Yeah, I was pretty sure. I remember seeing video of him winning the Open. He won the Open in '86 and then '93,
right?
And then he had 30 top tens and was a runner up 8 times in majors.
You're
so
right.
Between those
8 runner ups,
that's what the killer was. Yeah, right. And he was at the front, and then just lost it down the stretch. That was the killer. Well, enough isn't being said about DeChambeau though, and his play down the stretch, and then afterwards, I mean, he hung around till probably midnight. And did you see the media guy? I don't know who he was that went out there with a camera and hit the exact same shot. He did it once.
Yeah, what?
And Bryson came out there and kind of played around with him, and then he put it within 2 foot of the hole, I think.
Yeah, Johnson Wagner. He lives down here in Charlotte, actually. He's with the PGA Tour, but it was on the Golf Channel. And he was. It's just live TV. You never know what you're gonna get. He's out there, classic TV segment. Let's go to the bunker and recreate Bryson's shot. Wouldn't you know it? Bryson walks up while he's doing it
with the trophy.
With the trophy, they have a super cool segment. Where Bryson actually walks him through what he was thinking, and then the dude hits the shot with it. I think he's actually a tour pro also, right. So he knows how to golf. Right. But super cool. He had Bryson went around. He signed autographs forever and let a ton of fans take pictures with the trophy and stuff. So I mean, he's becoming the people's champ.
Yep. Hopefully they get it together between the PGA and LIV, because
the crazy thing is, I don't know if you guys saw, I saw a clip. It was on Pat McAfee show with DeChambeau, because of the LIV stuff, and they can't get everything right. He didn't have enough points to qualify for the Olympics. Right. So only 4 Americans qualified for the Olympics this year, and somehow because he's playing so well, but his LIV tournaments didn't qualify, he's still top 10 in the world rankings. But because of all the tournaments he's missed with his LIV, contractual obligations, he's not top 10. So it's just crazy that he's, other than Scotty Scheffler, he's probably playing the best of any American, and he's not going to be at the Olympics. The 4 that are going are still really, really good, but you would think DeChambeau would be one, but he's not.
Right.
And he's also not playing in the Ryder Cup too. It's a joke.
Right.
The whole thing's a joke. Golf's got to figure this out, man. I mean, everyone was tweeting it on Sunday. It's like, man, seeing these 2 guys go at it, it's like, we need to figure out a way to get these goddamn tours back together. We really do.
Absolutely.
It's a bummer.
Because think about the Olympics. Yeah, think about the Olympics right now. If you threw him in there and Rory was playing too, that's immediate, drama. But
must see TV. Yeah. Also, speaking of must see, yeah.
No, I was just say it said we got Wyndham Clark competing, so I can't wait to watch him play.
That'll be fun. Well, let's move on from golf and little segment on the NBA Finals. Celtics close out the Mavericks 4-1. I mean, they're starting 5. The Celtics, they keep that core together, man. And then Porzingis coming off the bench, that they could be around for a while. I mean, that's a pretty good starting 5. I don't know if Horford's coming back or not, but it didn't surprise, I don't think, any of us that they closed it out against the Mavericks. I think Dallas might come back down the road, but that's a good Boston team.
It's tough to think that the Mavericks won't ever be back with Luka, but
Right.
you just never know. I mean, because you don't know what's going to happen with Kyrie and, you know, the rest of the roster. But I did not think that the Celtics were going to dismantle the Mavericks the way that they did. And I think it's just because, like you said, they no matter what lineup they put in there, they just have a super deep roster. I mean, the guys that come off the bench are really good. They're versatile. They can defend. They were giving Luka just all kinds of troubles and frustrating him. Kyrie didn't have the best series. And then some of the Mavs role players didn't really play that well either. And when you put that together with how well Boston was playing, Tatum, Brown, Drew Holiday, I mean, even Porzingis game one had that crazy game one. So,
Yeah.
it was just a recipe. And it makes you think. So the Celtics drafted Jaylen Brown and then Jason Tatum in consecutive years.
Stuck with them.
Then they kind of built a team around them. They've got good coaching and stuff too. So that stuff can be done, like thinking about the Pistons, like it can be done. You draft a couple superstars or guys that turn into superstars, make a couple trades, a couple big free agent signings, and you can build a winner. But it's impressive what the Celtics did.
They're freaking good, man.
Yeah, they are.
It's crazy how much better they are than they were last year. What did you guys think of the finals as a whole? I think we talked about it a little bit last week, but now that it's all wrapped up, I thought it was a great NBA playoffs. I thought we were really spoiled in the Western Conference. Every series seemed to be a damn good one. I don't know what it was. It had star power. You had the Celtics going for an 18th banner, but for whatever reason, it just didn't land with me. I don't know. Was that the same with you guys, or what did you guys think?
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. It was a middle of the road finals. I thought the NBA playoffs was pretty good overall till the finals, but it was kind of anticlimactic to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously, ending in 5, the gentleman's sweep.
Right.
I mean, the Mavs didn't win Game 4, but you knew it was over.
Right.
I think kind of like the U.S. Open, more people were talking about Rory than DeChambeau. Kind of the same thing. It turned into talking about Luka and his defense and how much he's complaining to the refs and how the Celtics were actually defending him really well, as opposed to just talking about how really, really good the Celtics are. So that it kind of turned into that kind of conversation. But I also saw that the Celtics, they have superstars like Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, and Drew Holiday's on the men's Olympics team. So they have really good players, but they're not that like flashy. They're not the Warriors. They're not the Lakers with LeBron. They're not like a super flashy, Lob City type of team. There's a really good team with really good players. So it's not that like exciting when you watch them play. They're just really good. Well,
really good coaching and a solid GM. I mean, that's a pretty good recipe right there for success. Yeah. It's funny. I was thinking after the game, and I was, we know what we get in college basketball and March Madness, and it's all capped off with one shining moment. I was watching the post-game show, and I thought, it'd be kind of cool if the NBA did this, or after the Super Bowl, they put together
for sure. I'm with you.
A montage, with a special song. Wouldn't that be cool?
It would be.
It's $1 million idea right there.
Thanks. I gave it away for free.
I mean, the thing about One Shining Moment, I mean, it's a perfect song.
Yes.
I can listen. That's like, I hear like a rumor, like you listen to Christmas songs, like it puts you in a better mood. Like that's what that song is. Like it's perfect. So yeah, they'd have to find what that song would be for the NBA playoffs, but I'm with you. It's like it stretches over such a long period of time.
Right.
You forget like what happened in round one. So it would be a cool way to cap it off. Every sport should do that.
Amen. Also, speaking of the NBA, Jerry West passed away at 86. A lot of people think about Jerry West from the HBO show, with the Lakers. I forget what the name of that show was called. Winning Time. Yeah, he was kind of clownish in that. But Jerry West was one of the greatest players, obviously, of all time. I mean, he is the logo. And, the interesting stat, I think I saw it on Get Up with Greeny. I forgot all about it. I knew he won the MVP on a losing team in the NBA Finals, but I didn't realize he was named MVP of the college championship game on a losing team with West Virginia. I mean, how about that? How good is that guy?
Listen, I don't know. It is a funny stat that he won that, and an NBA, like to me, the college basketball one, like that doesn't make sense to me, man. if you're a basketball player like LeBron, you're the best player. Usually you can sway an entire game on your shoulders. In NBA Finals and then going against a dynasty like the Celtics, it made sense. Like, okay, let's give him the runner-up, or let's give him the most valuable player. That I got. I will say the one thing that I thought was like a perfect way to word it was Michael Jordan. I mean, his comments about Jerry West basically said something along the lines of, I always wish I could have played against him and competed against him, but the more I got to know him, I really wish he could have just been my teammate. I mean, what am I going to say that Michael Jordan didn't just say perfectly right in that phrase? That was really well done by Michael Jordan, I thought.
Amen.
I mean, when you are the logo, that speaks for itself.
It does. And I'm the only one on this podcast that actually saw Jerry West play. So I remember how good he was. He just was on some Lakers teams that had some bad luck, and Boston was a dominant team in that era for sure. I think he did win one NBA championship, but there was an awful good Celtic
hell of
teams
an
in those
executive
days.
too. I mean, he had 2 Hall of Fame careers as a player and then in the front office.
I mean, I think it was Darren Ravel, or I don't know, someone tweeted out, it was like the headline was like, what a week by Jerry West. The same week that the Hornets drafted Kobe Bryant, and then he traded Vlade Divac for Kobe Bryant. In the same week, he also signed Shaq to the Lakers. I mean, that you can just retire on that right there.
No doubt. So rest in peace, Jerry West, for sure. I didn't talk to you guys about this at all, but I was flipping on the channel the other day, and it was football. It was the UFL football championship. So I thought I'll check it out. And I saw that Tom Brady was actually going to get on there and comment a little bit. Did you guys see that at all?
I saw some clips. I didn't watch any of the game, but
yeah, I saw some social media posts. It seemed like the majority were saying, "Oh, he's going to be great. It was awesome."
Yeah, that's what I saw.
I think he might be. I think he probably will be. But for that little segment that he did, I thought it was a little bit shaky, frankly. I know he practiced his ass off, but I think once the light hit him, and he's in the middle, and the guy was towering over McAfee and or not McAfee.
You can't put too much into that segment.
I know.
I appreciate you taking a stance on it, and I love that. But one, it's UFL. He probably doesn't know who half these freaking players are. Whereas in the NFL, he walks in, he knows the sport like the back of his hand.
Right.
I didn't see the actual segment, so I can't speak on it. But I do appreciate the fact that you're taking a stance on it.
Yeah, well, I'm not saying get rid of him. I'm just saying it seemed like he was a little nervous, which I kind of was surprised. That's all.
I've seen some people say he might be almost too good in a sense.
Yeah.
He was so good at preparing for, when he was a quarterback, that he might over prepare and over analyze, almost try to be too buttoned up, which is good. You almost have to have a balance. You want to make it natural, but you also don't want to just feel like you don't know what the heck you're talking about. So it's you got to kind of find a balance. And I think he will. It's still crazy that Fox made him immediately the number one guy after Greg Olson has been so good, but
yeah, that was an interesting move. I mean, they're going off Tom Brady's Tom Brady, obviously, maybe the greatest quarterback of all time. It's hard to debate that. Yeah. And he's an industry in himself. But I felt kind of bad about Olsen because I thought he was really good.
Right.
For us Lions fans, man, that came about 10 years too late. We used to always get that B crew, Spielman and who the hell knows who else. Man, if it was how shitty the Lions used to be, we'd have Greg Olsen every week. Would have been awesome.
Right. The worst was when we would get Matt Millen calling games, and it was really, you're giving the Lions.
I don't even remember I didn't even know the guys' names. For some reason, Spielman is the one that stands out, but it was you're just man, this game sucks as soon as you hear those guys talk.
Yeah, it's too bad too, because I think Spielman was a pretty good color commentator myself. I loved Chris Spielman.
Yep.
Yeah,
I like Spielman too. It was just, listen, is he Tom Brady? Is he Greg Olson? No.
Yeah. Hey, another topic before we move into Tedertainment Tonight. I don't want to beat it to death, but this Caitlin Clark and all this controversy with Angel Reese and all these other players in the WNBA, it just doesn't seem to go away, does it?
No, and I think honestly, it's in part too. We're going to go back to the media. I think the media. I think they're trying. I mean, yes, it's a topic, but it seems like they are forcing this on both of them. Mm-hmm. So, the other night, the Sky and the Fever played, and the Fever actually won. So Caitlin Clark plays for the Fever. Angel Reese plays for the Sky, and the Fever actually won the game. And in the game, Angel Reese, there was a hard foul on Caitlin Clark. It was a basketball play. She kind of got Clark across the head, but she did get called for a flagrant foul. And I saw the Fever's coach afterwards, she was asked about it, of course, and she said, I'm just glad that they went to the video, they got the call right, and then they moved on.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it doesn't have to be much more. But when they're talking to Angel Reese, they're just pegging her with questions about it. And they start asking Caitlin Clark about it. It's like they're trying to get both of these people to like say something bad about the other one, when it's like, and Caitlin Clark's tried to dance around the questions and be like, I'm just here to play basketball. Okay. I kind of like you, Jared, talking about AJ Hinch saying like, I just want to talk about the game. Right. And it's like, can we please just stop asking me questions about the drama? Basically. And it's just like, it's getting a little ridiculous.
I will agree with you guys on that. I mean, it is the media bombardment with that topic and everything else. It is a little bit extreme.
That foul was nothing. It was a basketball play. It was a flagrant foul. Yeah. It wasn't like it would be a bigger, like if she did that and stood over Caitlin Clark. Okay, now like that'd be more something. It was just a foul.
Right.
Now, and again, it's like I'm contradicting myself. They probably asked her 500 questions trying to get her to say something negative about Caitlin Clark. The one thing she said, she has a special whistle. It was like, yeah, it probably didn't really make sense because it was a clear flagrant foul. But at the end of the day, man, I would have said something like that if I got asked 30 questions. I'm going to slip up here or there. So it's annoying, man. Hopefully it's entertaining and it definitely is keeping viewership. I saw it was like the most viewed game in WNBA history or like in 23 years. So it's like the WNBA doesn't want this to end. So it's just going to keep the never-ending media cycle. It's going to keep going.
Absolutely, man. It's putting eyes on the product without a doubt. Well, speaking of putting eyes on the product, we like to watch different shows periodically. So let's take a little quick break and then come back with a little Tedertainment Tonight, boys. All right, I want to start us off, guys. One of the fans of the podcast texted me and said I should watch this show. I would like it. It's called Under the Bridge. It's on Hulu. I don't know if you guys have heard of that one. It stars Lily Gladstone. She was an Oscar nominee for Killers of the Flower Moon, and Riley Keough, Elvis's granddaughter. She's a pretty good actress too. It's a story about these kids in British Columbia, Canada, kind of a rough group, and then this one girl gets killed, and it's kind of an 8-part series on what was the story behind it. And I would say that it was a good recommendation. We watched all 8 episodes. It was a solid watch. I'd probably give it a 2.7 on the 3-point scale. So definitely worth a watch if you have Hulu, if you like, murder mystery type of series.
I might have missed it. Is it based on a true story?
It is based on a true story. Yeah. Yep.
That always makes those things more interesting to me. If it's if it's not real, if it's fiction, it's kind of whatever. But if it's based on a true story, then yeah, that piques the interest for sure.
Mm-hmm. I've got one other one before you guys jump in. Jared will love this because it's been 30-year anniversary of O.J. Simpson, and there was another special. This one was on Lifetime called The Life and Murder of Nicole Brown Simpson. It was a look at her life with OJ from her family.
Now it's just like spin-offs. Next doc will be about his grandson. Why? So you watched it?
Jared, you'll never understand because you weren't there. Anybody that's listening to this that was around with the whole O.J. Simpson murder trial and everything else that went with that, it's one of the more fascinating events of my lifetime. It really is. So that's why I keep coming back to it.
Only thing that brings me solace is if we ever find ourselves on a trivia team, we know our niche topic and we know you're going to be our guy, O.J. Simpson. Anything O.J. Simpson related, you got it covered. So
I got you covered.
The name of your guys' team would be The Juice is Loose.
That's right. Absolutely.
No, that one. See, again, I'm with you. I think that'd be interesting because all the other documentaries and everything, rightfully so, I guess, are about OJ and the trial and what happened. So yeah, to kind of see. So was it like a documentary or was it like a made for TV?
No, it was a documentary. Her older sister was the main narrator of it, I'll say, and they had a lot of different different film clips and things that I'd never seen before. So it was very interesting.
It would be. And was it like a one part?
3 parts. 3 parts on Lifetime. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, Jared, I mean, so what? We've probably recommended 27 documentaries for you to watch on the OJ. Just take a weekend and watch all of them, and you'll be up to speed on
Can you actually can you put together a list of all these docs and let's just see them in paper form? Because it might be 20 docs that you've recommended. And clearly people are watching them. I mean, they keep churning them out, so it's like I can make fun of you for it, but clearly there's an audience for it.
Two clearly above the others, and they're both ESPN products. The 30 for 30 on OJ, that's where you should start. And then the second one was the day of the car chase. What was I forget what the name of the 30 for 30 was.
1994. Yeah, it's the date.
It was 1994. There was like the NBA finals were going on. There was a big golf tournament finish. There was all these events happening on that same day, and they just went clip to clip to clip. I mean, it was just fascinating to watch it.
Yeah.
So those are my 2 high recommendations.
You that'd actually be kind of interesting. It'd be like the people that write out, all the Star Wars stuff, how you should watch the Star Wars shows and movies if you want to watch it chronologically. Or, you emailed us, and I was going to give you kudos. You emailed us a list of, the summer concerts that that are going on.
Were you going to all those?
No.
Oh, okay.
This is just to kind of see what I figured you weren't going to them all. It was just like, if you have a day off, all right, let's go to the schedule and see if anything's available.
Well, I'm probably going to go to 4 or 5 of them for sure. But if you don't put it on the schedule, you're going to say, shit, I forgot about that concert last night.
Right. No, and I got to be honest. I mean, looking at the list that you gave us, there's a lot of really good concerts and shows going on. I mean, you could make a whole summer of going to see some live music. That's for sure.
Well, I think the only one I'm going to pay reasonable or decent money for is the Beach Boy. Well, there's a couple other ones, Pine Knob, but most of those shows I had on there were either free or $5 tickets for live music. You can't go wrong on a summer night.
Beat that on a summer night, especially if it's outdoors. Yeah, you can't beat that. Speaking of music, my input for this Tedertainment Tonight, I watched. I think I teased it last week, or maybe we talked about it off air. But How Music Got Free documentary on where did we watch it? Oh, it was on Paramount Plus. It was on Paramount Plus. It's a 2-part, 40 minutes, basically 2-hour little documentary on basically. So it was a little different than I thought, because all the clips you saw before teasing it was like Eminem and like 50 Cent talking about their albums getting ripped off by Napster and everything. So I thought it was going to be more from the musician's perspective on their music getting to Napster and all the streaming services or the downloading sites and everything back in, late 90s, early 2000s. But it was more, and it was actually interesting but it was literally how the music got to these sites.
Oh,
so it was like, how did the music, again, kids these days, if you want to say like that, Jared, your generation, younger kids, you just have every song, all the music right now on your phone. Like this isn't even like registering with you probably how big of a deal it was to be able to go to your computer, type in Eminem, type in, what Metallica or whatever. And the music was there. This was like mind blowing type stuff. But like, how did the music get there? I mean, that's like literally what this is about. It's like literally, how did the music get on these computers to where you could download them? It's actually super interesting. And there's a tie-in to a small town here in North Carolina that made it a little more interesting also. So, if you, Jared, you may not be all that interested in it because, again, you didn't really live through the downloading Napster. I mean, I know you said you did a little bit, but not like the peak of it. But if you did,
I don't appreciate it. It was like, I mean, iTunes is already a thing. There was no CD burning in my lifetime.
Right. So yeah, if you lived in that time, or if you just have a really, an interest in the music industry in general, it's a 2-part on Paramount Plus. A look at how the whole Napster thing, how this all went down.
When you say like, how did the music, like, are you saying like the technical, like logistics of how do you get music from like a CD to a computer, or what? I guess, what do you mean by like how Is that what you mean?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, literally how, because musicians, they were trying to figure that out. They were like, we're recording this music and then we're sending it off to, it's just kind of wild to think of this is how it would be.
Right.
We're sending it off to this factory to basically mass produce our albums so then we can distribute them. So they were like, where in that process is our music getting on this internet that people only half understand at this time anyway? And now people are downloading it. And now before I even, because back then all albums used to come out on Tuesdays. I'm sure you remember that, Ted. So people, they were like,
that makes no sense. Why?
Right. People were like,
lines at the record
Tuesday.
store.
Yeah, they were like, people have our albums and it's not even Tuesday yet. So yes, it's a literal look at how, again, like it doesn't even make sense anymore because everything's just on our phones and computers or whatever. But like literally how that stuff got to, I mean, it talks about the person that invented the MP3. So it's like, it's actually, it's really
how the
interesting.
sausage is made.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, but I was going to ask you without a spoiler alert. Was it somebody like Mark Zuckerberg, in Facebook? Somebody,
Sean Parker, man.
Some individual just figured it out, huh?
I don't want to spoil too much. It's a yes and no. It's a yes.
All right.
And so that's what I mean. It's kind of interesting. It's not something that,
It's Justin Timberlake. Justin Timberlake from the Social Network. That's who did it.
Right.
So. I'll have to check that one out.
It's a good one.
Who did it.
It's a good one.
I just got one quick little thing. Not even necessarily a show. Obviously, House of the Dragon, the first episode of season 2 came out. We watched that on Sunday. But really what it left me thinking is, man, I hate these once a week releases.
Oh, no doubt.
How you guys used to live in that era where that was the norm. My God, it's terrible. Do you appreciate the episodes more? Yes, but at the end of every week, you're just like, man, it left a little bit to be desired. So I'm just in this weird lull where I'm waiting. The Boys, they came out, they did it a little differently. They dropped 3 episodes at once. They're gonna drop 3 more episodes later on. Just the House of the Dragon, I'm past it. I think we're all past the once a week drop that HBO does. What do you guys think? You hate it or do you appreciate it?
I'm so past it. I'm not watching it until there's at least 4 or 5 episodes in the can. I don't need the water cooler discussion anymore. I want to be able to sit down and watch it in order and be, I hate it. I hate what you're talking about. Yeah, I don't like it.
That's what I was going to say. If you can avoid social media, if you can avoid, the water cooler, going to work or, wherever, and people are blowing, spoiler alerts left and right. If you can avoid that, then yes, it's way better to wait until there's at least 3 or 4 episodes out. Because otherwise it's frustrating to watch one and then you're like, I got to wait a week. Or especially the shows that, the season wraps up and then there's not another season coming out for like a year and a half.
I know.
You almost forget about them sometimes, but yeah.
Yeah, what I do is I usually, when they have that big of a time delay, I'll go back and watch the last episode before it starts the new series just to get reacclimated. I know they do a little highlight thing beforehand, but I like to really get into the whole thing. Now, you mentioned about The Boys, Jared. Did you watch the first 3 episodes of season 4? I've been seeing some pretty mixed reviews about season 4.
I don't know where that's coming from. I didn't think it was any significantly different than the previous seasons. I noticed that as well. I mean, on Rotten Tomatoes, I think it's got like a 90% like rating. So clearly, for the most part, people are liking it. But I'll report back. Maybe those are people that have seen the entire season. But to me, I thought it was just classic Boys. I didn't think it was any worse or necessarily probably not better. I thought season 3 was great. I don't think season 4 will be that good, but I thought it was solid. I thought 3 good episodes. I'm curious to see where the season goes.
Yeah. Well, just inside The Boys for you. You mentioned last week about Highlander, and I just watched the episode about the jet. I have to say, man, is he a dick, man? He is evil.
So when you guys, I've seen some people post a few clips. My interest is peaked on this show because it's not your traditional corny superhero type stuff, whatever. But you said it's kind of rated R. Is it rated R because of violence? Is it rated R because of just language? Like
everything. Yeah, there's not a lot of sex though, is
violence,
there? I mean, you see a bare butt here and there, but violence, swearing.
Okay.
You would like it,
but it's good.
I wouldn't say that. Like, I don't think you'd like Game of Thrones necessarily or House of the Dragon, but I really do. Hearing your other recommendations, what you like, I think The Boys would pique your interest. You should give it a shot.
Yeah, watch episode 1, see what you think. All
It's
right.
wild. That's what I would say.
It's wild. It definitely is. All right, fellas, I think we made it through another podcast. You never know where these things go, and we had a good discussion on U.S. Open. Very well done. I also want to thank Memorial Healthcare's Wellness Center for being our title sponsor. Join the Wellness Run Club headed by Rachel Smith and Ben Jacobs. Great way to get in shape and get ready for that second annual Go Blue, Go Green 5K on October 5th. Also want to thank our other partners, the ALS Association of Michigan, AZee Branding Solutions, Jacobs Insurance Agency, Kori Shook & Associates Real Estate Services, Nelson House Funeral Homes, Rivals Taphouse and Grille, and Success Group Mortgage and Servicing. We talked about the concert schedule in Michigan. Our boys, Chi-Town, back in action Saturday, June 22nd at Auburn Hills Summerfest, and then they'll follow that up with another appearance on the street in Durand on June 26th. I'll be at that show. It's always a good time. So peace and love, everybody. Be kind. Very important. Be kind. Thanks for listening.